Hi, my name is Autumn. I'm from Automaker's Mini Pet Pigs, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what to look for when it comes to a breeder and some of the tricky things that breeders do to try to trick you into buying their piglets. First of all, size is a huge issue in the pig community. So many people want a tiny piglet, and so many breeders have figured out ways to kind of trick people into thinking that their piglets are extra small, okay? The first thing that they do is when piglets are born, some breeders will pull the babies off their mom. They'll let them get that initial nursing, get the colostrum, but then after that, they pull them off. Or maybe they'll wait till they're a day old or 2 days old. They'll pull them off, and what they're doing is they don't want that baby to get that mother's milk, because what is in a mother's milk is very fatty, and it causes piglets to get really chubby and really round, and it causes them to grow really quickly. So they're trying to keep them small. So they pull them off, and instead of feeding them some kind of even like a goat's milk or a milk replacer, what they do is they feed them an elder feed, a pig food that is for elderly pigs. And the reason is because that elder food, it has very little fat in it. So it's not going to cause those piglets to get fat and grow really quickly. Another thing they do is they will take a young pig and they will breed it. Maybe under a year old, maybe a year old. They'll take that pig, they'll breed it, and they'll say, look, this pig is full grown, the mother's full grown, and so the piglets will get no bigger than her. That's a lie. Pigs grow till they're at least 3 years old. And there's so many different opinions. The thought is between 3 and 5. A piglet is full grown between 3 and 5. So it depends on who you ask. I tend to err on the side of caution and say, okay, well, let's say it's 5. If you have a mother pig that is a year old, she's not gonna stay that size. She's gonna keep growing. So it's important to find out how old the mother is. And it's hard because sometimes they'll even lie about that. One way you can tell is by looking at her tail. In some breeds, you can tell by looking at their tail. If they don't have very much hair growing at the bottom of their tail, that's a good sign that it's a young pig. Topanga is 2.5, and she has hair probably this long, and it curls. It's beautiful. It's long, and so if someone's telling me that their pig is full grown, that is one way that I look and try to figure out if they truly are the age they're saying. Another thing that tricky breeders do is they use words. They use words so that people will they use words to trick, like advertising type words like teacup, micro mini, apartments, nano, tiny. If someone is advertising that they have the smallest pet pigs, you'll never find them anywhere smaller, there's a reason for that. There's a very good reason for that. And it's probably because they're inbreeding and starving their pigs, their piglets. Many breeders, as they pull that piglet off, they give very limited food, basically just enough to keep them alive. So they stay very, very small. But you think about that, there are a lot of health problems that come with that. So my first pig I bought from an unethical breeder. Of course, I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't educated enough to know. I should have done more research, but at that time, it was 16, 17 years ago. So the internet really wasn't like it is today. It was a lot harder to find information. And my pig was inbred and he was starved. And the reason I know that for a fact is because the breeder is now in prison for her breeding practices, and it was brought out in the media. He only lived for about 2.5 years. He did not live long at all. He did stay very small. He was about the size of a cat, even a little bit shorter than a cat, but had a really long body. And there were days that I look back and I realize he was in pain because we would be in the car and he would be sitting on my lap and I would be scratching him normal and he would bite me. And I know it was because I must have hit a tender spot, because what happens in these pigs is their skeletal system, yes, it stops growing and they stay small, but their organs don't stop growing. So you think about that. They get like squeezed. Imagine how painful that is. Imagine how horrifying that is. So it's very, very, very important that we do not support these bad breeders. A piglet should be left with its mother until it is at least 6 weeks old. I do 7 full weeks and then I take that last week to taper off the feeding so that the mother can so that she's not in pain. You know, I don't want to just take her away. She'll be engorged. There's a chance of mastitis. I try to limit that as much as possible, those chances. So I very slowly wean her babies off of her for a whole week. So by the time they're 8 weeks old, they're totally weaned. That's a healthy way to do it. I know many breeders do it sooner. I don't think it's a good idea. There's so many reasons why. But let's not support these breeders who are doing these very unethical practices with their pigs. And I'm not doing this so that everybody buys from me. That's not the point. The point is support good breeders. Support breeders who sell piglets that are not underaged, who don't use false advertising terms or claim that they have the smallest piglets in the world or smallest pigs in the world. People who love their animals, people who want to find them good homes, who work really hard to find them good homes, those are the breeders that we need to be supporting today.